everybody. Welcome back to day 10 of our nursing school mindset edit. So I'm super excited about this one today because we're just going to talk about some very simple, I kind of call them attitude shifts that you can make as you're transitioning from a pre-nursing student to a full-fledged nursing student. And I promise they're super easy things to do. And they'll just help make that transition a little bit easier and a little less of that there's a little frustration also that comes with nursing school. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So, one of the first things that you guys can do to kind of shift your attitude about how you approach school is with nursing school, you're absolutely going to have to learn how to be maybe more flexible than you have been with prior classes. And I totally get it. I am the same way. If you're super detailed, I was just on the phone with someone saying, what days are you going to be here next week? What times are we going to be able to be together? Because I'm planning out every minute of my time for next week. I mean, that's how I run my life, my business, everything, right? I like to plan things out. You might be the very same way. But in nursing school, you have to set that aside a little bit. I'm not saying don't plan because you guys all know I love a good plan, but learn to be flexible. Don't write stuff in your calendar in pen, okay? Use like an erasable pen, like these friction pens. Be careful though, the ink will disappear if your planner gets exposed to heat. Or use pencil, or if you're using a digital calendar, super easy to then shuffle things around. I know you're super detail oriented, really organized, and very good at scheduling, but just know things are going to change. And if you're not flexible, you can have a lot of frustration with that. Like, for example, clinical days being moved around, assignments changed, um, PowerPoints or lecture modules not uploaded until the night before the class or the lecture or whatever. Like things like that where you really wish you'd had the opportunity to plan, they're just going to happen. So really learning to be really flexible is going to help you not be so frustrated with the way things go in nursing school. And the other reason for that is, I always say this, you guys, any frustration, challenge that you have in nursing school, excellent practice for on the job, because I promise you, the frustrations, the challenges that you experience as the primary care nurse at the bedside are about 1,000 times more intense than what you encounter in school. So it's really good practice, right? So just think about that. I always say when there's wind, the tree can fall, but the grass is just going to float. So be the grass, okay? That's the first thing. And then the next kind of attitude adjustment that I would say is really, really important is about being competitive. Now, if you are like me and you applied to a program that was highly impacted, right, and highly competitive, then yeah, you had to be super competitive as you went through microbiology and chemistry and statistics and anatomy and physiology and all of those things, right? You had to get super high grades. You had to score really well on entrance exams and the whole bit, right? You were very, very competitive. Your classmates were, I'm not going to say your enemy, but you were all competing for the very same thing, right? Well, now that you're in, okay, I want you to just a little bit on that competitiveness. And it's actually a really nice relief, okay? You're in nursing school, you got in. Okay, now it's time to relax on that and switch competitiveness to collaboration. So before, where you might have been competing to get the highest grade in the class or the highest whatever, now I want you to start thinking about how can we all succeed together? Because again, on the job training, you guys. This is excellent prep for what it's like to actually work as a nurse in a team environment, okay? So, what I mean by this is you're not trying to be the numero uno in your nursing class at the expense of your classmates, right? If you are that top student, you can lift other people up as well. I'm not saying carry them, but help lift up, right? You can share your knowledge. You can lead a study group. Not all of them, but maybe a little bit. You can share notes occasionally with people when they need a little bit of extra help. Um, Organize a group that outlines the chapters. If you have a class that relies heavily on the book, you can lead a group project. Not all of them, one or two, but you can do things that show collaborativeness and teamwork. And then when you're in clinical, whenever you get a chance, offer to help. You will learn so much by going in and being that team member, working in a team, working to achieve a common goal. You'll see how other people do things, and then you can go and apply that to your own practice. So, again, turn competitiveness into collaboration. Instead of thinking, how can I get through nursing school? Think, how can we all get through nursing school? Okay, so that would be the other one. The third one is be humble. Okay. I know you guys are all very bright, or you wouldn't even be thinking about being a nursing student, right? So you're really bright. As a student, if you're in school right now, you're also so book smart. Like, I know you probably sometimes feel like I don't know anything. I used to say that all the time as a nursing student. You know so much from school, from your books, from your instructors, and all of that. But when you go into the clinical setting and you're working with experienced nurses, having a less than humble attitude is not going to serve you very well because, again, it's a team environment. As you are learning that hands-on experience from someone who's been doing it for 20 years, yes, they may do things vastly different from the way you learned it in school. The correct answer is not, well, in school they did this. No, nobody wants to hear that, okay, you guys? What I would say when you're in clinical and somebody's showing you an alternative way to do something, first of all, I'm always super thankful for that. I always tell myself, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? I know that's kind of a gross saying, but by learning how other people do things, you can still kind of see the underlying concept. You know, let's say you're doing a sterile procedure. Maybe they do it slightly differently, but the basic principles of sterile procedure are still in place. That just reinforces the concept of sterile procedures to you, right? There is always the risk, of course, that someone will actually do something in an unsafe manner and you know it, or want you to do it in a way that is unsafe. And to that, I would say you can always fall back on I see what you're trying to accomplish here, or I see what you're trying to do, or I see what you want me to do. Unfortunately, my instructor or my school require that I do it this way. You can always fall back on that, you guys, if you need that little safety net. But again, being the know-it-all, not really an attitude that works very well in the clinical setting. So being humble, seeking answers more than anything else, right? Absolutely key. And then the final thing for that little attitude shift or the attitude adjustment is to learn how to take criticism with grace and accept it gracefully. And this one is so important. I'm diving into it more specifically coming up in a few days, I think. But you are going to have to get very used to being observed, being judged, and having feedback given to you, whether you have asked for it or not, right? So a lot of students get really nervous when their clinical instructor is watching their every move. So, or calling them out on maybe things that they missed. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you chart that? They're going to ask you these very, very, very direct questions. So I want you to just understand where it's coming from so that you don't get defensive. Because if your response when that comes up is, yeah, but you're doing it really wrong here, okay? When someone gives you that feedback, gives you that question that makes you really look critically at what you did, the answer is always thank you. And the answer is always to look back at what you were doing, seek more understanding, absolutely. But just understand where it's coming from. It's not critical. It's not because you're a bad student. It's none of those things. It's because the person giving you the feedback cares enormously about you being a safe and effective and competent nurse. And that's all it is, okay? So I know it can be hard. It can feel a little crushing to get that kind of feedback. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen a lot. Learn, shift your mindset about it to know it's really coming from a place where they want me to succeed and feel confident and feel safe. So those are the 4 main kind of attitude shifts that I find if students can make those shifts pretty early on, they transition a lot more easily into that nursing student role. So to recap what those are, learn to be flexible. Okay, you guys will probably see this one come up week 1 and you'll be like, oh yeah, Mo told me to be flexible. Okay, I got it. Number 2, instead of being competitive, seek out ways to be collaborative. Be humble, even though you're super bright, we all know it. Be humble and learn to accept criticism with grace and understand that it's coming from a place of caring. Okay? So I want to just say hi to Marissa. Hello, Marissa. I'm so excited you're in boot camp as well. If anyone has tried to go to my website today and gotten an error message, the website is down. I'm having a mild panic attack about it. I know I seem really calm. But the website is down. I don't know when the website will be back up, but I will put a link to another place where you can go if you want to get information about the boot camp that Marissa is talking about. It is on sale right now. It's a nursing school prep course. So I will make sure that you guys have access to that in the description or the comments of this video, okay? I'm working on the website. I'll get to it. It's going to get, well, I'm not going to get to it. Tech people are going to get to it. Hopefully get it back up today. My fingers are crossed. It's been several hours now. So that is it, you guys. And then tomorrow we're talking about some tips on staying engaged with online classes, because I know a lot of you still have some online classes, might be feeling like, oh, it's really hard to stay engaged when everything's online. We're going to talk about some strategies and tips around that, okay? So I will see you again tomorrow. I don't have the time, but I can get it. Hang on, let me just look it up real quick, you guys. Because I don't send emails out about these mindset edit videos, because that would be like a daily email. Well, I was going to send you to the website for the schedule. No, website is down. Tomorrow's the 22nd. That will be at 9 a.m. Pacific. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific to talk about online classes, okay? Amanda has a question about any tips for how to shift the anxious mindset in clinical. Oh, Amanda, I could talk about that for a lot. Are you in boot camp, Amanda? I'm not sure if you are. If you are in boot camp, I talk a lot about that. And then there's definitely things on my website, which is broken, that can help you in that regard as well. Let's circle back on that, Amanda, when the website is back up and running, okay? You can always shoot me an email to remind me, okay? You did boot camp, Amanda. Okay, good. So I would say go back and look at the module on clinical, and then I will look for additional resources on the website that might be able to help you. I know a lot of times students feel a lack of confidence in clinical. One of the reasons is they're just not sure what to do. Have you been to any clinicals at all? Or are you just getting to start clinicals? Because I was super terrified of clinicals as someone who had no healthcare experience. Just going into that setting was really scary for me. So if you're a brand new student going into clinical, one of the things that students say the most is, I don't know what to do. I'm going to feel really out of place, et cetera, right? So the first thing I would say is, yeah, you're going to feel out of place. But you know what? The second day you go, you'll feel less out of place and you'll feel more and more comfortable every time you go. It's just, you got to just rip that band aid off, okay? And accept that you're going to be uncomfortable for a little bit. And that's okay. All right. It's completely okay to be uncomfortable. You're going to be uncomfortable a lot as a nursing student and even more as an actual nurse. Okay. So when I was a brand new nurse, I remember leaving after my first day. I remember just distinctly, I know exactly what I was wearing. I remember walking down the sidewalk to the crosswalk to go to the parking lot, saying to myself, thank God that is over. I will never have to have my first day as a nurse ever again because it was uncomfortable as heck. I knew the next day was going to be uncomfortable, but I knew it would be a little bit less. And it got less and less and less as I went. So the first thing I would say, Amanda, to that is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's okay. When I'm working now as a nurse, I'll get a patient and I'm uncomfortable at first because I don't know the patient yet, right? I might have read some of their chart or gotten a little bit of information from report, but I don't know them yet, right? How do I get to know my patient? I assess the patient. So when you're a student and you feel uncomfortable, especially about a patient, and you don't know what to do, you can always assess them. Gather as much data as you can. The more time you spend, the more you get to know them, the more comfortable you'll feel. Okay, so this uncomfortable feeling is never going to go away as long as you care about what you're doing. Okay, but it's okay to be uncomfortable, it's fine. Now, as far as feeling confident, that's going to come in time. Okay, that is going to come with repeated exposure to the same things over and over again as you develop your clinical competency. And I want you to go back and review. I believe there's a lesson in boot camp. If not, it's on my website about the clinical debrief form. So this form, it will 10x how quickly you gain clinical competency. And I'm not even exaggerating. It forces you to look at situations that happened, evaluate the data, evaluate what happened, what you did or what someone else did for the patient, how the patient responded, so that you can then take that information and start applying it to other similar situations that share the same or even just some of the same characteristics. That is how you build your clinical competency, by building on what has happened. You learn from it, you apply it to the next thing, and then it builds and builds and builds. Okay? That is my secret sauce tip for clinical competence success. Okay, Amanda? So I hope that that helps. Amanda, it's okay to be, Amanda says she's book smart but super shy. I'm also super shy. I know you don't believe me. Nobody ever believes me when I say that. I'm super shy too. So it's okay. I get it. You will get used to talking to people you don't know. You will get real used to being assertive about your patient because it's what the patient needs, right? And the more you do it and the more you speak up for them, the easier it gets. And I wouldn't worry about that so much. There's a million shy nurses out there. That doesn't mean we're not people. I'm a people person. People say that. Doesn't mean you're not a people person. It doesn't mean you can't interact and have great rapport and great relationships with people. It's totally fine. So I wouldn't worry about being shy, Amanda. I'm shy and I'm fine. Okay. Yep, you're totally feeling normal. Okay, you guys. So I will see you tomorrow to talk about staying engaged with online learning. Okay, bye everybody. See you soon.